Hi everyone, I am Caroline and I'm an afikra ambassador based out of New York. And so today I am presenting on Andrée Acouri, the world's first Arab model. So this is a digital cover story from Vogue Arabia about Andrée Acouri. And she was the first, as I said, the world's first Arab supermodel to walk on international runways. And I came across this article fairly recently. I was going to do my forward on something else, but when I read this, I found her life to be very, very interesting. And yeah, so I hope you guys find it as interesting as I did. Without further ado, I'll start off by kind of doing an overarching summary of Vogue Arabia, which is a newer, I'm sure you guys have all heard of Vogue, but Vogue Arabia was actually a fairly recent Vogue chapter to be released. It was originally founded in October 2016 as a dual website or dual language website in both Arabic and English. And this is the first edition of the magazine to focus on digital media over print. But then in March 2017, shortly after, they did start revealing actual printed covers. And the first cover star was Gigi Hadid, who I'm sure you also have heard of, who's half Palestinian. And the magazine is based out of Dubai. So here are a few other cover images as well. Obviously, there are many more. But back to Andrée's life. So she was born in the early 1940s. She's 80 years old today, and she grew up in Beirut. And her parents split up when she was pretty young, so her mom wasn't very involved in her life, but she does underscore that she inherited her beauty and her femininity from her mother. So that is why she wanted to choose the modeling career path. And I also found this interesting. Her father was sold textiles, which she says that didn't really impact her decision to become a model, but I do think it's an interesting tie-in. Obviously, the fashion world has fabric is everything, right, to make the clothes. So I thought that was also a really, really interesting tie-in in her childhood. And so she married an Italian diplomat in the early 60s, and she had one daughter, Paola, who you can see in the picture in the bottom right. And then in 1962, she was visiting her sister-in-law in Switzerland, and a well-known designer at the time approached her and asked if she would model his collection. And she insisted she was not a model, but he trusted his intuition and she trusted hers as well and agreed to it. And obviously they were both spot on. She became a huge star. But so her husband was very, very supportive of this decision, but her father was not, and actually ended up not speaking to her for a couple of years. And the image here of her modeling in the center, this was her at a fashion show for Lebanese designer Jacques Cassia in Beirut in the 60s. And then she became one of the most coveted models in the international stage, and she modeled for really, really well-known fashion houses from Dior, Nina Ricci, Chanel, Saint Laurent, Valentino, many, many famous fashion houses. And for Nina Ricci, she was actually the muse and fitting model for 7 years. So she was highly involved with that particular fashion house. And she worked as a model till the age of 35, which was an unusual age for modeling at the time, and also took part in advertorial films. And she also had a stage name, Kayleen, which because Andrée kind of represented her life off, and her daughter would often come to shows with her, and they would call her Kayleen and then Kaylinette together at the shows. So this image is of Andrée Acouri walking in a Dior show in Beirut in 1965. And then her life after modeling, it slowed down a bit. She got remarried, and she also had a brief fight with cancer, which she overcame I don't have too much more information on that part of her life, but I said this quote based on her health issues and things like that. She said, "I decided to live day by day and always positively." And if you read any of the article or any of the other sources or follow her on Instagram, you will see it's super evident that she does fully live by this. She seems like to be the happiest person I've ever seen. And with that, she has no regrets, except that she's not young enough anymore to walk for Elie Saab and Armani, which Armani is one of her favorite designers today. And then another that I also read was that she always wanted to be a model, which she obviously achieved, but she also wanted to be an actress, which at the time she did have opportunity in the beginning of her modeling career to act, but at the time her husband was an Italian diplomat, and so it wasn't appropriate for that time, so she never got to do it. So there's definitely still time, so I hope she gets the chance. And then on modeling now and in the future, she still loves classic pieces from the 60s, and her favorite fashion is actually from the 1920s and 30s, and just how elegant it all was. But she will always just remain a super, super iconic model and legend from Beirut, obviously, like I said. And this is kind of a happy ending that we don't always get to see in these types of stories, but as I mentioned earlier, her father did not approve of her modeling and would not speak to her initially. And so much later, she discovered that he used to attend her fashion shows secretly and confessed his pride after a particular show in Saint-Tropez. And she says his support was one of her greatest gifts she's ever gotten. So that's one of those rare happy endings that we get to see in her life. And then I really liked this quote to kind of end with, because I think it's something, if you're in a creative field or your job or hobbies or anything like that. She said, "Today's models are so skinny, they do not smile and walk without presence. This is sad. They must walk and turn their heads gracefully with an elegant smile beaming through." And she also still will hold when people ask her how she looks so amazing for her age, which, you know, beauty has no age, but she like attributes her looks to just laughter and laughing throughout her entire life. So I just think that this is a really nice note to end on with her life, and not her life, obviously, but like ending this presentation, and kind of highlights what I think is one thing that you will see woven throughout her entire life, is this kind of like enjoy what you're doing and just have fun with it. So that is all I have. And so here are a couple other sources. Obviously, there's the article that this was written on, but then Vogue on Instagram also has a video that's in Arabic with English subtitles, and it's a 15-minute long video where she answers like audience questions, basically. So you can get more information there. There's another interview that's in French, but you can also, if you don't know French, you can translate it. And her Instagram is listed there. And then the last article is a kind of an overview of the next upcoming generation of Arab models that are kind of taking over runways around the world. So that's another one to kind of look forward and see what's upcoming in the future in this space. So thank you guys so much.